After 22 years, the Steel Ball Run anime is finally out. And oh my god, it's so peak I cannot even begin to express just how peak it is. But there's a lot that someone not as autistic as I am might miss on their first watch. What's that, you might ask? Well, guess what, genius? That's what this video's about. I mean, you did see the title and click on it, so what the fuck? So this is actually the reason why I decided to make this video. I was DMing my good friend Jojo, link at the top right corner, about the new episode, and believe me guys, this guy knows his JoJos. I mean, he pointed out to me that they removed the sand from one of Sandman's first scenes, which is true. Look, in this scene in the manga, the clerk is like, oh my god, an emerald, but it's like covered in sand, what the fuck? And then in the anime, no mention of sand. But like, how do you even catch that? Anyway, point was, my good friend here knows his shit, and somehow didn't notice that Diego's theme, or at least the soundtrack that plays only when Diego's on screen, so yeah, Diego's theme, sounds insanely close to Dio's theme from part 3. Here's a side-by-side. And check it out, they did this for Avdol too. Look. Finally, the main theme has its own little Easter egg. Steel Ball Run draws a lot from Stardust Crusaders, from the characters to the travel-driven plot, so it's only natural that the Steel Ball Run theme shares a saxophone segment similar to the one in the main Stardust Crusaders theme. Take a listen. A common theme, not just with JoJo's, but with anime in general, is that it's not always perfectly faithful to the manga. It's basically impossible to do so. So here are some things I noticed that were different in the anime than in the manga. First, Gyro's teddy bear. The anime has to cut a lot out to keep the pacing good, otherwise we'd have like 100 something episodes of Steel Ball Run, which actually doesn't sound too bad, but the pacing would be shit. One of these things they cut out is most of the scene in which Gyro is doing his final packing before the race and tossing anything he doesn't really need. Now in the manga this is super clear. There's a bunch of text for what everything is. Gyro says, is it a little too heavy, has some nasty thoughts in his head, and tosses a bunch of stuff he really does need whilst opting to keep the teddy bear. This is pretty important characterization. It's kind of our first impression of Gyro, besides that he's a psychopath who forces people to shit themselves. And I have to say I'm a little disappointed in the way it's handled in the anime. It's about 10 seconds, 5 of which are spent panning through objects, which, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really get immediately that these are like what he's bringing with him. I mean, these are like some cans and like some, like a red square here, like some weird objects. I don't know, maybe I'm slow. But the other 5 seconds are just him looking at the scissors, and then at the teddy bear, and then back at the scissors, and then finally tossing the scissors in favor of the teddy bear. Am I crazy in saying that this was a lot easier to follow with the thoughts in his head, saying like he could use his knife for this stuff, and all the other stuff he tossed earlier? I mean, it makes me glad that I read the manga, because these are the kinds of things that I don't catch and then find the anime boring for having cardboard cutout characters. But I'm curious to see, for any anime onlys, did you catch this scene or did it kind of just fly by? Let me know in the comments. Another thing I was just kind of iffy about was in Johnny's backstory when he gets shot. Now, on second read, I think this is actually very faithful to the manga, but it comes across as super goofy in the anime. We're not talking about Breaking Bad or National Geographic, of course. We're talking about the anime with the punching ghost and the time fuckery, so of course not everything has to be perfectly realistic. But come on. I mean, watch this.
なんだしつこい野郎だな
Do you know just how loud a gunshot is? At the range that Johnny just got shot at, it would be enough to put ringing in your ears if you didn't wear ear protection. And that's ignoring the craziest part. This bullet just hit him so hard it crippled him. And he's standing here talking like everything is totally normal for like a good 6 seconds. Totally fucking aura farming before noticing, oh shit, you shot me in the torso, like super bad. I mean, this is some Looney Tunes timing, dude. It's similar to how it goes in the manga, but man, couldn't this have been rewritten a little? It sounds stupid saying this out loud, but like it genuinely broke my immersion. Spoiler alert! Skip to this timestamp if you haven't read the manga. Okay guys, let's talk about why the fuck does Diego sound like that? That sounds like the world! That sounds like the world, and that looks like he's using the world to time stop and move around instantaneously. But no! That can't be the world because he has scary monsters! But the anime-onlys don't know that, so I guess we're just edging them by implying he has the world. It was such a weird choice to me. I mean, I know you're like skipping around and stuff, but it's those sound effects for the one guy who's like associated with time stop. I mean, it's like, yeah, some other version of Diego has the world in like, what, 40 episodes? Why are you acting like he has it right now? Okay, don't answer that. Shh, we're letting the animes only back in 3, 2. I mean, unbelievable how they just killed every character in the end. Anyway, another cool sound effect thing is spin. Sounds just like Hamon. Super cool to see because, for those of you who don't know, Steel Ball Run is in its own alternate universe separate from the parts 1 through 6 universe. And no, it's not because of Made in Heaven, don't even ask. But anyway, this alternate universe has a lot of callbacks to the main universe, one being Spin, which is in fact this universe's version of Hamon. So I remember back in 4 BSBR, I heard a decent amount of theories about the Steel Ball Run anime that had to do with the challenges of animating horses. People went as far as to say Steel Ball Run would never get an anime adaptation simply because it's too hard to animate horses, which is incredibly stupid. Animes do it all the time. Look at Attack on Titan. They wouldn't have gone so far as to not just keep milking the Jojo's cash cow all for some horses. But what people were rightfully worried about was how exactly were they going to go about animating all those horses. Because it's true, horses are hard to animate. Not impossible, but hard. And when we're dealing with multiple, sometimes dozens of horses at a time, it becomes extremely hard to do with the usual hand drawing techniques. So judging by Stone Ocean, people speculated that they were going to make some pretty heavy use of CGI, and boy did they. Look at all this CGI. Some of it is unnoticeable, sure, but some of it is kind of fucking glaring, not gonna lie. It's a little disappointing to see, but it's not surprising. What is surprising is how good the animation is in places. I mean, they really locked in on some of these scenes, especially towards the end of the episode. Some scenes are so fluid and well made. Judging by all the CGI, I was worried my favorite Jojo part was going to be ruined for anime watchers by subpar animation. But honestly, I'm not very worried about it if they keep it on par with what they did for the first episode. Just please give us weekly episodes, no batches. Please, Netflix, I'm begging you, I'll do anything, please! Anyway, that's all for today. Just watched absolute cinema and felt like sharing my observations. I project that most of you are going to be new viewers thanks to my devilish trick of a thumbnail. No, there isn't any funny Valentine in the first episode, get trolled. But if you happen to be a follower of this channel, no, I'm not dead. I've been in college and honestly haven't been playing YBA at all for as long as I can remember, so it's just difficult to make videos on here. I'll still post JoJo related content as they come, and I might make some more SBR videos, but besides that, it might be until Jojolian for you folks to get any content out of me. Subscribe, I guess, if you want to see more of that. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next time.